If you're tired, then you sleep and then you're feeling well again. But burnout doesn't go away by sleeping. And also another thing is that burnout happens only because people are weak or something, and they should just exercise more and eat more healthily and sleep better, and then they would be fine at work. But I don't think that what people do on their spare time helps if the circumstances at the workplace are like in Gordon Ramsay's kitchen.
Welcome to Kalliomäki Podcast, exploring entrepreneurship, society, and well-being. Subscribe now to stay updated on our latest episodes.
Welcome to Kalliomäki Podcast. We are talking today about occupational burnout. This is actually a hot topic, especially in Finland, because we usually only talk about exhaustion. We don't really talk about occupational burnout in Finland enough. And this goes deep into the medical and also the company culture sectors or topics in Finland. We just did a Finnish podcast and we promised to talk about this topic similar to the previous podcast in the amount of 10% to 90%. So if you just listen to the Finnish podcast, stay tuned, because we may discuss 90% different topics than you just heard. And you may just want to hear Lassi and me talk in English and flex a little bit your language skills. If you're an English listener and didn't watch this Finnish live broadcast just an hour ago, stay tuned, because we're gonna talk 100% in English language. We promise to include you completely in this topic. We want everybody in Finland to be able to participate. So if you talk Finnish or if you talk English or a combination of both, we are here for you. So today, discussing about occupational burnout, this very hot topic in Finland. With me is Lassi Kervinen. So welcome to the podcast for the second time today, Lassi. How are you feeling about the discussion we had in the previous hour in Finnish?
Thank you for inviting me, Tuomo, and it was a really good discussion that we had during the past hour. And also nice to see that we have some online watchers as well. And my name is Lassi Kervinen. I'm a father to a magnificent son and a husband to a lovely wife. And occupationally, I help to prevent burnout by replacing shadows with clarity and light.
That's a really mysterious headline. And today, during the next hour, we're gonna dive to some practical examples. We are probably gonna discuss a little bit about the theory and general thought sphere surrounding this topic. And I think when we think about these international stars who discuss this topic, we can probably say that guys like Simon Sinek, Jim Collins, Adam Grant have brought this topic to the minds of people in Finland, in Nordic Business Forum, for example. But for starters, tell us a little bit about Nordic Business Forum when you were there, and did you get any insights there last time you were there regarding this topic of occupational burnout and company cultures?
Yes, indeed, they talked about company cultures, but I didn't see them talking really about burnout. And when I was looking into books from the United States that are related to burnout or occupational burnout, it seemed to me that most of them are focused on the individual person, not the organization. And that might be a challenge there. But also in Nordic Business Forum, they are speaking about leadership. So, for example, Sanna Suvanto-Harsae, a board professional, was talking about her 3-point rule for the management teams and board professionals that are performing well. And she had 4 F's three F's in the rule, and one was focus, one was forward thinking, and one was fun. And focus was about what do we focus on and what do we leave out. And forward thinking was about having a milestone, let's say 1 year from now, and then thinking about that what we have to do and in what order to get there. And fun, that's maybe self-evident to people, but that work should be fun as well, not just something that you get paid for.
Exactly. Just a reminder to people watching, you can drop a comment anytime you want, and we will take it here live. This is a live broadcast, and we love to do it like this. We are improvising, we are discussing with you people. And I think something important that Lassi, you and me are gonna bring to the Finnish workplaces is our network. That we every day go through these discussions with people live on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What kind of comments do you usually receive on LinkedIn? Let's assume that our listener now doesn't already follow you on LinkedIn, and you probably mostly write in Finnish.
Yeah.
So what's the discussion there like regarding occupational burnout, and what are your comment fields in general like? What kind of discussion do you get with your network?
Yeah, I've been active in LinkedIn, let's say, about 3.5 years. And I've been known for discussing and posting about building a more humane work life. And for me, it seems that people are discussing the topic under my posts, and they agree with many things I say about leadership and preventing burnout and all that. But often it also seems that the people who are reacting to my posts and are active in the discussions, they aren't the leaders, but the people that are lower in the organizational structure. And to make a real change, we would need to find the people in the upper levels, let's say the board professionals and the C-level management group.
But how do you think these board professionals and management groups will react when they hear that you have this network of people who are usually more the worker or the doer, and not that many of the leaders? Well, leaders are actually a minority in purely amounts. If you look at 1,000 people, there's gonna be 100 leaders and 900 of these people who actually do the job. But how do you think the board professionals and board members, CEOs, how will they view your network, which consists of people on their workplace, for example?
Yeah, I guess some of them might see it as a challenge, but also if they could admit that they aren't flawless and they try to do their best and they are open and they are willing to have discussions about hard topics as well, and they are willing to make change, I think then they could see my network as a good thing that could be used for employer branding and being more humane and representing it to bigger audiences, that this is how we do it, instead of just being quiet and living in denial perhaps.
Exactly, and this is actually something that you can already bring up in when you're employing new people and recruiting new people. This could be something that you could use as a strength in recruitment process, that you actually are forward thinking and have already invested in preventing occupational burnout. This is what I think. To everybody listening, I'd like to hear, we did this on the Finnish side of the broadcast, but I'd like to know in which city or country you are right now. So drop it in the comment section. I'd love to compare it a bit to the Finnish broadcast. Are we having the same people? Are we having some new people? And because it's in English, who knows? Maybe we have people from United States listening to it. I don't know what time it is there. People may be still sleeping.
Most likely.
But maybe anywhere from the world. So drop a comment saying where you are right now, and you can always drop comments regarding the topic of occupational burnout or anything else you'd like to ask from Lassi or me. So I'm gonna tell an example from my old family company. So we would not have seen it as a threat if you would have approached us and told us about your network and the LinkedIn discussions you are having, because we always took the whole company to these processes. When we had a wellness workshop, everybody was there. We had maybe 50 people, and everybody just jammed to the cafeteria, and we discussed this topic in a very Finnish way. Leaders were there, owners were there, and every production employee was there, every salesperson, every developer. So we were very Finnish. But I'd like to know if there are people who are listening now who are in a leadership position, and we'd like to know live what would your reaction be to this topic? Would you see this as a strength or a threat? Let's ask the audience. And we have an audience question here from Teijo. What kind of thinking biases you see for the occupational burnout, both for the people who has the burnout, but especially those who are around or leading people who have burnout? What mixed or incorrect thoughts you have encountered regarding the topic? I think we got a little bit the same question in the Finnish side from Dave.
Yeah, we did.
What would you think?
Well, maybe the two main ones I encounter often. One of them is that burnout is the same thing as being exhausted or just tired. But if you're tired, then you sleep and then you're feeling well again. But burnout doesn't go away by sleeping. And also another thing is that burnout happens only because people are weak or something, and they should just exercise more and eat more healthily and sleep better, and then they would be fine at work. But I don't think that what people do on their spare time helps if the circumstances at the workplace are like in Gordon Ramsay's kitchen.
Exactly. And we got a comment from Annukka about this survey that you can do to find out if there is occupational burnout happening in your workplace. What would your approach be? Do you see that a survey could be important in mapping the situation, or would you go with just giving a workshop to some of the leaders and board professionals, or would you go around interviewing people? How would you approach a company which says that, hey, Lassi, we want your help. We want to become a company which has actively prevented occupational burnout?
Well, I haven't thought about this just in this way before, but I would use a combination. I would start with the surveys, but then I would talk with the employees first and see and discuss about the survey results, that do they really think so, and maybe ask some additional questions. And also with the management group, I would like to know what they really think. And then after we have talked with both of the groups at different times and also done the surveys, then we could all together talk about the situation, that what's going on and how do people feel and what does the management think, and then what could we do together to solve these issues.
I'm a little bit different than maybe most people in business research, because I believe in case studies. I think you can really find out a lot about the situation when having a deep interview with 1, 2, 3 key people, instead of having just the survey. I do believe in surveys too and this quantitative research, but I'm a real qualitative guy if we dive into academic terms for a moment. But this is what I did in my thesis in my workplace. But if you would interview, let's say, 3 people on the workplace, who would you think are the key people regarding the prevention of occupational burnout? Of course, we could dive into the threat report we watched in the Finnish side, but what do you think? Who would you ask about in the company about the, or have a deep discussion with?
Well, I think one should be the CEO, maybe also the chair of the board, but their role isn't that operational, so it might be useful, but also it might be not. And maybe the HR leader. And also in Finland, at least, we have these people who are representatives of the employees. And I don't know the correct term for it, but the leader of the representatives or whatever, that might be a good person as well, because I think that they usually know what's going on, and people maybe, or the employees maybe more openly discuss with them.
Exactly. I do think that the board is in a key position here, and of course CEO. And we discussed this during the Finnish podcast that the board actually has the power. They can even fire the CEO if they see the results that this is actually a burnout culture because of this CEO, and they might install a new CEO who actually has better cultural skills. This is a competitive thing. But you mentioned HR. Now, what's the problem with HR? Why doesn't HR solve all this? Shouldn't they be the experts in company culture? And shouldn't they be able to just identify the problem? This is a burnout culture. I'm going to solve it.
They should, but often they are treated as a side function, and they aren't budgeted properly, and they aren't given the real ways that they can really interact and make change with. And for example, I was looking at all the stock exchange companies in Finland, and there were 130 companies or something, and 1/3 of these stock exchange companies didn't have a HR person in their C-level, in the management group. So often it seems that the personal issues aren't taking seriously enough in the strategy and in the day-to-day work. Every company has a CEO, every company has a chief financial officer, but I would like to see more companies that have HR person in the management group, and also someone who's responsible for the people and responsible for the culture, and not just saying it aloud and having it in some nice presentations, but actually doing it.
I haven't seen any chief human officers or chief people officers or chief culture officers. Have you?
There are some, but well, for example, chief human resources officer, that's kind of common. But also, when I was looking at these 130 something stock exchange companies, I think about maybe 3 companies had someone who's responsible for the culture as well in the management group, but not that many. But the culture is there anyway, whether you talk about it or not, or lead it or not, it happens anyway. So maybe people should think what kind of culture they want to have and steer it in the right direction, instead of letting things happen on their own.
Exactly, and culture can completely kill strategy. Whatever the big guys decide, it doesn't really matter if the people on the work in the factory are actually completely conditioned over decades to do the completely opposite. You can't just snap and like Thanos and decide that everybody's gonna act a little bit different or completely different to what they've done for decades.
Yeah, and also it's different to hire humans than by robots. So that should be taken into consideration always.
Exactly. So for the folks on Instagram and LinkedIn Live right now, just a reminder, even on the Instagram side, you can drop a comment, but please do it in English language, because we are gonna be 100% English live broadcast right now. It's mainly aimed at people for the beginning of this podcast. It's aimed at people who are really internationals living in Finland. But maybe later we will broaden this niche to people outside of Finland. But first we wanna include these two groups. So maybe the more native Finnish speaking people and international people living in Finland. So feel free to drop any comments and questions. But one question we got previously was that this burnout can actually happen also during job search. So sometimes the occupational burnout happens when you're actually inside the company, but people are getting burned out looking for a job. What do you think the biggest challenges are there? What is it like when you're a person living in Finland and looking for a job? What is it like? What's the biggest challenges there in terms of getting burnt out?
Yeah, I guess it's like going through hell at the moment, because there are so many unemployed people and not so many jobs, and there are really many applicants to each job. Usually I saw some job ad that they said that they had 1,500 applicants to one job. So how on earth are people supposed to differentiate themselves regarding the other applicants? And also there's this challenge that you get rejected all the time. People ghost you. You aren't seen and being understood. If you get some kind of automatic answer that thank you for your application, first name, and then we aren't taking you to an interview because we had so many good applicants and whatever. But it's really, really hard to find a job at the moment, and all the rejection and not being seen, I think it's just natural and humane that it might lead to a burnout.
And in Finland, in general, how much do you think people use their time, or how many applications do they send out during a week or a month if they are unemployed in Finland and doing the things that the government tells us to do? What is it like, just to give our audience the idea that what is it like to job search now? What is the routine? Well, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've been either studying or doing business or putting up a new business all the time. So I don't know the exact details.
Yeah, well, feel free to correct me if someone who's listening to this knows better, but I think the mandatory thing is to apply for 4 jobs each month to get the unemployed allowance, or what is it called in English. And one challenge there is that you have to apply for 4 jobs even though you don't find any job that you would be really interested in. And then you might get to an interview and then they see that you aren't really motivated, but you still have to do it, so you get the allowance. So also the companies are struggling that they get so many applicants that aren't really interested in the job, but they are just forced to do it to get the money.
Exactly. It feels like some kind of choreographed dance, in my opinion. But I think actually what people should be doing, I discussed this in the podcast with Tamara Vernic, that you should be actually doing things like LinkedIn, things like networking, things like doing some kind of service, some kind of work to other people, maybe for free, just to build a showcase, just to build some kind of network with some goodwill. So I'm applying to become a politician in the next elections, and my idea is that people should be more free during this job search phase. And I would really encourage people to join LinkedIn and actually start networking, start becoming a thought leader. Doesn't work for every field maybe, but works on marketing, works on developing for example, and for leadership. What do you think about if we stay just a little bit on the topic of job search, because I think the international community in Finland is really hurting around this topic.
Yeah.
What would you do to start networking on LinkedIn if you were an international person living in Finland and trying to get ahead? Main goal would be to get a job and stay out of burnout while doing so.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge because many universities in Finland think that they are international, and what they mean by international is that they offer studies in English, and then people from abroad come to study in Finland, but then companies do not hire people who don't speak Finnish. And then they do the studies, and the taxpayers pay for that, and then they leave the country because they cannot get a job here. So it's just like plain stupidity. And well, I haven't tried, because I'm not from abroad, I haven't tried searching a job without speaking Finnish, but I think what is the best way there as well when you're a Finn looking for a job is to network with people. And this famous TV person, Jari Sarasvuo, said that you don't get jobs by applying to jobs. That applying to jobs is like throwing apples on a swamp and believing that you will soon have an orchard there. And his strategy for finding a job is to find many companies that you would be interested to work in. And then you have to have face-to-face discussions with some person of each company. Maybe your future boss, or maybe some person in the leadership team or whatever. But his numbers regarding this process was that 30% of the first discussion lead to a second discussion, and 40% of the second discussion lead to a third discussion. And half of the third discussions lead to a job contract. And when you count what's going on there with the math, it means that you have to have 17 discussions to land one job. And it might be harder at the moment, but the key there is to find the people and somehow get through to discuss with them.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a book I read. This was about politics in America, but the situation is a bit similar. There was a young politician, and he would even go to stand in this it's not a locker room, but place where they hang their coats when they are coming in and out of the Congress. And he used to just hang there just to have discussions with these certain people that he wanted to get to the network of. He would play golf with them. Okay, I'm not suggesting that we do it like this in Finland. I'm not comfortable doing that. But what I am comfortable with is using LinkedIn to connect with people. And there's a huge amount of variance in LinkedIn. For example, if you send a message to me right now on LinkedIn, I'll answer it within the same day, basically, because I'm always there. In my previous job, I was never on LinkedIn. But my advice to international people looking for a job in Finland is to find these people who are these active networkers, because there are people in Finland who are actually active on LinkedIn and who can speak English, who have some power to give a job or who you could do a favor. I think that's the first thing that we should look for, is to do favors to people. But let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn some more, and then we can dive to the occupational burnout, main topic of the day. But I really want to help the folks who are out there, this international audience. So give a couple of hints for the people who are on LinkedIn right now. These are English-speaking people. They don't know enough Finnish, and they want to build a network on and stand out on LinkedIn. So, for example, commenting. How would you comment if you're an English-speaking person and trying to find a job in Finland and build a network, do some favors, how would you comment?
Well, of course, you need to send connection requests. That's like number one. And another thing is to comment people's posts. And also, if you see posts in Finnish, you can translate them and reply in English. People would usually understand anyway. And it's good to post on your own as well and do some commenting, because if I go to a profile and I get a connection request and then I go there and they have no activity and their like their job background or professional background and studies, and they aren't filled there completely. And often if the profile lacks really a lot of information, it starts to feel a bit shady to me. And one thing, if you discuss about do's and don'ts, I get sometimes connection requests from people who have moved to Finland, or they are abroad at the moment, but they would like to have a job in Finland. They send me a connection request without any like a message there. And then when I accept it, they send me their CV and they are like, I need a job in Finland, please help me. So I cannot do much for people like them.
Yeah, exactly. And I've received the same CV maybe, but what we actually do need in Finland, when we are these active networkers and active LinkedIn users, any comment actually helps us. I don't think people realize that if we post in Finnish and we get 0 comments or get 4 comments or 10 comments, that matters. It really helps to get those comments. And if they're in English language, we can translate them, and or if we don't know enough English. So that's for sure one thing that you could do to get some goodwill, is to connect with us Finnish LinkedIn users and start commenting, and boldly do it in English. It's okay. You can do it in English. We can reply in English. And that's valuable for us in many, many ways. We can get more impressions. We can deepen our connection with you with DMs later. And for example, I'm now trying to get to broaden my networks with the Finnish internationals. I'm sure you don't mind getting more deeply into the companies which are multilingual and international companies working in Finland. So to prevent occupational burnout there would certainly be a niche that you're interested in, for sure.
Yeah, it could be, or it is. And also occupational burnout is a global issue, not just something that happens in Finland only.
Exactly. We have a comment from Aaron. Always ask for at least €1, never free. What do you think? Doing these services to others.
Yeah, it depends. It depends. Also, they say that what goes around comes around and whatever. So, well, for example, I'm a new entrepreneur, or fairly new, and sometimes it's better to do something for free and get some reference customers and then start looking for paying customers. Because many people aren't willing to buy if you don't have any references, but they don't care if the references that you have paid you. But they still feel more comfortable about buying when someone else bought before them. No one wants to be the first one or the last one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing basically, I'm not asking for €1. I've built a showcase in the podcast, but maybe if I had just asked for €1 or €50, I still would have gotten these sort of prototype customers. That's a very interesting thought, Aaron. And Aaron has put another comment. As a foreigner, I had a student visa that limited me to part-time work. That's a challenge in itself, since there's also requirements on how much money you should have each year to renew the student residence permit. Foreigners have to deal with resilience in a unique way. Yeah, I'm a free market guy. Anything like this that limits how much you can work, I'm not for that. I want people to be able to work for each other, and let's get the government out of the picture. That's my opinion. I don't know what you think. This may be a little political.
Yeah, well, I guess those things are sort of there for a reason, but also at the same time, they haven't maybe thought all of them like completely true. And why they might do that is that they are afraid that people come here and then don't get a job or are unemployed and then use the social security system or go work somewhere that you don't pay taxes and you get paid in cash and whatever.
Yeah,
but I don't know that much about the situation there and what are the limits and the legislation and all that. So I'm not really in a position that I could comment anything useful.
Yeah, I think in general Finland is a little bit lost. I think we have this great values of equality, and we are a Nordic country. We love that we can say that nobody here is gonna get left out.
Yeah.
Everybody will always have a shelter. They will have food. They will have some amount of money coming to their account. We love that, but I would really love to see Finland get a dose of innovation. Get a dose of risk taking.
Yeah.
What about having sales as a value to be able to sell? Seeing the beauty in being able to sell our innovations. And if we take these account on these rules, political rules that we have, I don't think we would have a problem having foreigners come here and being limited in working. If you're here, I would love for you to be able to work.
Indeed.
Anything you can do.
Yeah, and also the challenge in Finland is that when they started to establish the welfare state, was it in the 60s, the age pyramid was completely different. We had just like a little share of the population that needed to be taken care of, but now it's changing that we have less people paying for all of this and more people needing help. So it just doesn't work pretty well. And also we are in a situation that we haven't had economical growth almost in 20 years or something, and at the same time the population is aging and our government debt is going higher all the time, and we have unemployment and we have 25% of the employees at the risk of burnout or being burned out already. So we have plenty of challenges, but there are solutions if we just are ready to make them.
The thing is, it's just gonna continue going worse if we have the system that encourages with money people to not work, or we have these huge benefits. Of course, that's gonna guide people to not move out of the benefits. I'm not trying to guilt trip anybody here.
Yeah.
But that's just how it works. If we talk about this currency, I don't know what the
probation period or something like that.
Basically, if you're my employee and I'm the employer, and we decide to somehow agree that you will stop working for my company, you're actually sort of gonna get punished for some months because of that by the government. So that's always such a downer, because that's stopping us from moving ahead. We have a comment from Anna. Great advice and very valuable information. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
Aaron is commenting, but we find the odd jobs. Cleaning, logistics, posti, courier work. And the challenge is the leap in career to what we study for. So basically we have people who have degrees, master's degrees, maybe even doctoral degrees, and people are doing odd jobs. What do you think about that?
Well, maybe I'm being too forward here, but sometimes it seems to me that some of the politicians want to have people from abroad to come to Finland and do the jobs that aren't well paid, and people who are born in Finland aren't willing to do and all that. But it shouldn't be that way, because I don't think it's the right way to go, and also it doesn't motivate people. And at the same time, if you look at the unemployment rates, the unemployment rates for the highly educated Finns at the moment is higher and growing more quickly than the other population or the general population. So at the same time, the highly educated Finns are struggling. And maybe there's something that we should just give people a chance and try to, or give them a chance to try their education and their professional background in higher ranking jobs.
Exactly. And I'm just gonna, well, I don't want to say bash our culture, but I'm gonna point out a little thing in our culture in Finland. Because I think we were all about equality, and we have this progressive taxes and all this. And I think in Finland it's a little bit too much on a pedestal to have a degree.
It is.
And once people have a degree, they won't easily do other kinds of jobs. If you look at the discussion about Volt, for example, look at the discussion about Uber and these platform companies. And I think in Finnish culture, we are a little bit too proud to have sort of a status symbol of a degree. And if you look at the conversation in the United States in podcasts, and people are discussing these jobs in a different light. If you're doing HVAC or doing different kinds of jobs, it can be valuable in it can be really practical, let's say. But in Finland, we don't want to take that Walmart job or that little job or which could be a stepping stone, that you're just getting money.
Yeah.
But here we have sort of this atmosphere that I'm a master, I'm not going to do that job. And then we have people who are the foreigners who are doing those jobs and who also are actually having master's degrees. So the whole thing is somehow a mess, in my opinion. We should have both language groups moving really easily from these odd jobs or these more doing jobs, factory work, seamlessly moving to this higher degree requiring jobs. But I don't know how to change the system. It's getting really political in my head.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take some examples here to the end of the broadcast from some occupational burnout. But one thing I wanted to ask you during the Finnish discussion, but we didn't have time, is about this heart on your shirt. I don't know if you can see it on there, but now you can see it there. So tell me the story about this, because I think I noticed a LinkedIn post that you had about this special shirt that is tailor-made for you. But what's the story of the heart?
Well, it's not actually tailor-made, but it has been fixed. I went to this networking event, and then I went to Stockmann, this department store in Helsinki city center, and I was looking for a nice blue shirt, and this one was the one that looked best to me. And then I went to this networking event, and they had these stickers with the person's name that you can put on your shirt. And then I put the sticker here, and when I took the sticker off, it took some of the fabric away. And then there was like a blank spot or bald spot in there. And I was like, damn, what happens now? And I paid a lot for this shirt. And then I went to Stockmann's, and then they were like, yeah, it's your own fault. Why did you put the sticker there and whatever? Then I didn't want to use it still with the bald spot because it stood out from there. And then maybe I did a LinkedIn post, and someone told that maybe you should get a fabric sticker. And then I went to this store that sells this kind of fabric stickers, and then I thought that, hey, I'm promoting more humane work life, so why wouldn't I put a heart in there? And now I have a unique T-shirt or unique shirt with a story.
Yeah, and this is actually a cultural symbol. So what we've discussed today is that companies have actual cultures, they have symbols, and I'm going to just make a counterexample. If you have a company where humane work would be just a joke, people would laugh to that heart on your shirt. But if you go to a company where humane work is actually really, really almost like a holy thing, then people would see it as a harmonious symbol, and it would be like thumbs up.
Indeed.
That's great, Lassi.
Yeah.
Tell me the story. Why do you have it? And they would ask more. So one thing I would like to tell to our audience is look around when you are in the companies. If you're working in a company in Finland right now, what are the symbols? How do you discuss? Discuss the owner? How do you discuss the previous leaders? What do you value about them? Is it money? Is it power? Is it something more humane? So we had the threats report. We watched it in the Finnish broadcast, and there people mentioned colleagues and bosses, basically as people who can prevent occupational burnout. So could you tell a little bit to the international audience what good things could actually a leader or a colleague do to prevent occupational burnout in the workplace?
Well, for every employee, it counts that they feel that their job has a meaning. They know what's expected from them. They know how they are measured, and they know if the company people are satisfied at their performance. And also, it doesn't matter if you're a leader or an employee on the same level, that when you have challenges, then you go together to solve the challenges, not so that people are given some kind of targets and then they are left alone. And then maybe after a year, they say that you didn't reach your target or you did reach it, but no one has the discussion like how to reach it and are we doing the right things to reach the target and all that. So they are pretty basic stuff, but also many of them come straight from the human nature, that people want to be heard and understood. They want to be a part of something. They want to do something useful and all that. But maybe in many places we have forgotten about the humans, and maybe that kind of a life isn't a life worth living as humans. Then maybe we could go to Mars and just meditate there and see just dust and red mountains.
That's maybe what Elon Musk tries to do right now. But okay, maybe his vision is a little bit more positive and humane.
Yeah, of course.
We have an audience comment from Lawrence. Also, this hyper focus on education, long-term work experience should just as valuable, if not even be more valuable than formal education. So long-term work experience versus formal education. What's your personal take on that? You've done work as work that doesn't require a degree and work that does, or it's a benefit in that work to have a degree. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that people should more focus on that is the person able to get the job done. It doesn't matter what the degree is, or does he or she have like 5 years or 10 years or 20 years of experience. They should more focus on the qualities and the abilities and all that. And often it seems that when companies are looking for employees and they get many applications, and then there's someone who has been working in sales for 5 years, and then there's another one who has been working in sales for 10 years. And also, usually the employers automatically think that the person who has been working there 10 years, that they are a better salesperson. But you can spend your time, or you can use it and learn. And people learn in different ways, and some people reach the goals more faster and whatever. So we just should take like a broader perspective, I think.
Exactly. And to go back to the previous topic about these things that are used to prevent occupational burnout, I'd like to bring one more group to the discussion. This is usually not discussed all in Finnish LinkedIn, but it's employees. If you are actually in a senior position, one thing that can greatly affect whether you get occupational burnout or not is the employee. And I'm okay with LinkedIn not discussing the employee skills in a negative way. But I would love to see more discussion on how to be a great employee, a great team member to your team leader.
Yeah.
And Jocko Willink on his books and podcasts even talks about leading up the chain of command. That means if you have a boss that is lacking in some certain key skill, you try to make up for it and maybe try to open things to him and tell him that, okay, by the way, boss, did you ever think that you should maybe focus on that thing, or did you notice this thing there? So what do you think are the biggest things that we can do to not cause burnout to the CEOs or the C-suite people or the middle managers, the bosses?
Well, they are also humans and they have their insecurities and they need help sometimes and all that. And I've seen discussion about these employee skills, or in Finnish, people might say alaistaidot, which would translate to subordinate skills or something. But maybe I would like to discuss more about interpersonal skills and being more human. And well, mainly we should focus on open discussion, trusting each other, and trying to achieve great things together. Not trying to find the guilty people and all that. And also, one thing that prevents burnout from higher ranking employees and leaders and all that is that usually they have more saying into their own job. And people who are lower in the hierarchy, they are just told that this is your job. You like it or you don't like it, but doesn't matter. And also, I saw one person who was working as a C-level executive in a company, and he resigned from there because he wanted to pursue new challenges. Everything was okay in there, but he just wanted to try something new. And then I saw him openly in LinkedIn looking for C-level jobs and board professional jobs. And he was telling there that he wants like a higher ranking job because he wants to be able to act and to make real change.
Absolutely. It can be difficult to see from the team member's perspective, but the boss's job is wildly different. From what I remember on my own positions, it's quite lonely. The CEO, that's a lonely position. I mean, even when I was doing sales as a sales director, that was social. I had a lot of power like the CEO has, but when I became a CEO, that became lonely. And just to understand that it's like a lonely father almost, the CEO. That's what I felt like. Because I got to know everybody's problems, but only the person and me knows the problems. And Jung has said that the person who knows more than others is bound to become lonely. I don't need every employee to try to get this loneliness away and bring me some warmth, but just to understand that it's a special position. That's already enough.
Yeah, but maybe it helps to be open about it and showing some vulnerability to the employees as well. And I think that every CEO should have a good chair of the board or other board professionals that he or she wouldn't feel so alone. And well, that's also one thing where I try to help, that the CEOs or the management group people shouldn't be that much alone. And also maybe they could network with other CEOs, maybe from some other fields of business that aren't like straight on competing with what they are doing. But anyway, some kind of group that they could find people with similar situations and feelings and all that. I think it would help.
Absolutely. That's really, really necessary. As a CEO, I remember that it's always this comparison, this strange equation where you have little time, little energy after the work, and you have a great need to share these things with people who are in a similar position. Also, I was in family business, so that's a really special niche. So if I talk to a CEO who is not in a family business and not an owner, that's not going to be the ideal peer support for me.
True.
But I discussed with my brother, because we sort of switched the positions. We were CEOs both in different times, and that was valuable for me. But this is just a reminder to the listeners that the CEO and the owners, we are humans too. We have more responsibility usually, but we enjoy those moments. I remember my coffee breaks, and we were brewing coffee with some of the employees, and we were discussing biohacking, which was my hobby, and those were important moments. And I'm sure they did a lot to prevent my occupational burnout. So huge thank you to the people in my team during those years.
Yeah, I heard this interesting metaphor that a leader should have at least, or to be able to work in at least 3 different positions. One is in front of the group, that they are telling people what to do and holding the light there and bringing hope and all that. And one is being in the middle of the group, that if you're working in a factory, for example, then you can go there to the factory level to see what the employees are doing, or if there's a rush hour, you can help in the day-to-day jobs. For example, I saw one CEO who was doing dishes in a company event. And why not? Then you get to see what the people are doing and to discuss with them and all that. And the third position was to be behind of the group, when you give people responsibilities and they know what to do and they are able to execute. Then you can perhaps just lay back and see that things are going well and rest for a moment.
Exactly. We have a comment from Ari. How the company management and owners could be awakened to the costs of sick and bad culture. Causes poor performance and lack of innovative orientation, at least. How to make the cost of bad and sick culture measurable and visible in organizations.
Well, the cost of burnout can be calculated, and I did it by doing calculations where there was a person that earned 4,500 euros per month. And the equation was so that first they work on 80% efficiency for 6 months, then they are on sick leave for 6 months, 6 weeks, and then they resign, and then the company has to pay to find a new employee and then to onboard them and all that. And the cost for the company was starting from 50,000 euros and going up to 80,000 euros, and if it's a key player, it might be over 1,100 euros. And also I was listening to this book from a Finnish author, How to Get Rid of Burnout. And she said that the most probable time or moment to a company to receive or search for help regarding burnout and organizational culture is when a key player burns out. But I would like to see a world where we could tackle these things on an earlier level, not just when a key player burns out. But the calculations can be made, the information is there, but maybe the challenge is that it's so widespread. And it affects like the tools we have in the company. It affects our strategy. It's related to how we do our everyday work. It's related to how the team leaders and other leaders are working and all that. Everything affects everything, but you have to start from something.
That's a great note to end this first English broadcast. Well, we had English episodes before, but this is the first time we did this, that we talk about roughly the same topic for 1 hour in Finnish and 1 hour in English. So a huge thank you to the audience. Some of you participated in both, and that's great. Some of you participated in one. You can still watch the other part of the show. It's there on LinkedIn, and inside around 1 month we will have 1 week where we publish all the short reels and the long edited versions of these podcasts on occupational burnout, työuupumus. And greatest thank you to you, Lassi, for coming to Jyväskylä, the Kalliomäki podcast live studio to do this double podcast. You were the first ever to do this.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's start spreading the word. We can start sharing this podcast right now. And now there's a person there who wants to get a hold of you. So how do you want them to contact you?
You will find me on LinkedIn. There's no one with the same name, Lassi Kervinen.
Connect with Lassi Kervinen on LinkedIn and drop a comment, drop a DM regarding these topics, and Lassi will help you and your company forward. Give a little hint to your boss that this would be actually a great topic, great thing to strengthen your company culture to prevent this costly occupational burnout that can cost even up to 100,000 euros if you lose a key player to it. So with that, it's time to end this podcast. Thanks to everybody. See you later.
Thank you, Tuomo, and thank you to all the listeners and people who gave comments. And what I would like to say in the end is that go out there and be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you, and have a great day.